whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on do our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.
Ho, ho, ho. This is your legal Santa, Gavin Richard, wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a safe and prosperous New Year. The law offices of Gavin and Richard, going the distance so that justice may be served. Hi, I'm attorney Gavin and Richard. Check out my latest book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. For approximately 2 years now, I have gone on a painstaking quest to investigate the rise and fall of an American icon, Bill Cosby. In the mid-1980s, there was not a star that was higher than Cosby. Advertisements with Coca-Cola, Jello, Kodak, along with the #1 television show for 5 straight years in a row. On Thursday nights, it was must-see TV on NBC. Cosby resurrected the genre of the traditional family sitcom that was once thought dead by television critics. He did this as a Black American with an all-Black cast and showed mainstream network executives in white America that it was possible to be successful without showing the worst in people. He also demonstrated the power that television had, as it could make younger people dream to be the best that they can be. However, like many celebrity stars, unfortunately, they all come crashing down, sometimes by their own fault, others not so much. In this book, I attempted to highlight certain things. We go in depth into both of his trials in 2017 and 2018, respectively. What if I told you that these criminal trials were politically motivated by an overzealous district attorney? Would you also be shocked to learn that attacks on Mr. Cosby did not start in 2014, but also in the 90s, not long after his attempted quest to purchase a major network? From where did all of these allegations of sexual misconduct come from? Were the accusers telling the truth? In the 2 years of research, with some help from others interested in learning the truth and facts about this case, we discussed both the legal reasons why his prosecution and trial were illegal, unwarranted, and also the possible personal motives as to why this may have occurred. Most importantly, we warn about the dangers of prejudice and why a trial by social media, or mainstream media rather, should never be the norm. All this and more in The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America, on Amazon in Kindle and paperback format.
whoever you are, wherever you are. Hope you are blessed and doing safe, ladies and gentlemen. The place to be is right here with me on Sunday nights. It is Random Topic Sundays on channel GBoo 2786. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe, ladies and gentlemen. We shall be discussing the following: To Serve with Love. Rest in peace, Sidney Poitier. Rest in peace to James M. Toomey. Also, we'll be discussing the McMichaels, again, they're sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, as well as Rodney Bryan, life with the possibility of parole. Suni Lee, attacked by members of her community for a black boyfriend. And BNC and Joy Reid, in trouble. All this tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you love the channel. Shout out to the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, go to our Facebook page to go and get the latest news and descriptions on the book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in the United States. That'll be available soon. Ladies and gentlemen, also check out our Creole seasoning blend, Nawny'sCreoleBlends.com. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nawny's goes great with every dish. We also have Video Soul, which is available on our Spotify channel. And we have our song, which has got to get on up, which is our theme song for every night that we play here. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get started as we play our theme song. In the meantime, hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in a few.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where the movie is. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have? Just come on. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Got to get your body moving, gotta get all up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on Earth, Wind, and Fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop. I'll do the body hop, baby. Now if you feel like a party started, ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. And move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll feel the groove. Get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor, baby. Gotta get on. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Gavin Reid Presents here on channel G-Boot 2786. Wherever you are, wherever you are, hope you're blessed and doing safe. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, our backup channel, Gavin Reid, thank you. If you're watching on Spotify via Gavin Rich 2786, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And on Facebook, Gavin Reid. Shout out to Brother Bernard, who is watching apparently. He said hello. Shout out to you, brother. I'm going to go ahead, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just get started into it. We began, of course, on Friday. We learned of the passing of an icon and legend. I'll get to it, but Mr. Sidney Poitier. Now, Sidney Poitier, of course, was the first black. He was the first black man to win a Best Actor Oscar award. In competition. Now, Hank Basket, it was pointed out to me by Ron Hurd, he was the first black male to get an Oscar, period. And he got an honorary Oscar because he did a movie called Songs of the South. Now, you guys have probably heard of that movie, or you've heard of the song Zippity-Doo-Dah, Zippity-Day, Oh My, It Was a Wonderful Day. And that film, of course, that film that he was in, Song of the South, as I said, Songs. That was a 1946 film, but it's rarely seen today because the character that Hank Basket, I said Hank Basket. Hank Basket was the football player. But James Basket, who played that Uncle Remus character, it was considered demeaning. So when you look at this, I'm just going to share the screen with you. This is James Basket here. This is his profile. He was the first black male to receive an Oscar. Despite his leading role, Basket was not considered for a competitive Academy Award for Best Actor or Best Supporting. But Sidney Poitier was the first black male to win an Oscar. Now, Sidney is not these people are from the islands, the Virgin Islands. Oh, damn. It's coming in threes. You said Bob Saget is dead? Bob Saget as in Full House? Bob Saget? I remember Bob Saget, and he, even though he was in Full House was not, he was not family friendly in terms of comedy, by no stretch of the imagination. But he was talking shit about Cosby. Oh well. Now look how Jacksonville, I want to talk about Sidney Poitier. I want to get off subject. But as I'm looking up what you just said, Clay, look how Jacksonville News has Bob Saget. They highlighted Bob Saget's dad. Look what they call it. America's Dad, Bob Saget, dies at Orlando Hotel. Now, y'all know that's some bullshit. America's Dad. Since you just mentioned, they've called Tom Hanks since Cosby's come out, they've called Tom Hanks America's Dad, or America's Father. Now they call him Bob Saget America's Father. Which one are they gonna choose? Of course, the shit is on purpose. And let's be honest, the Cosby Show, since we're talking about Sidney Poitier, the Cosby Show was the reason why most or all, a lot of these sitcoms had started on ABC and CBS. Because when Cosby, on the Cosby Show, that was the #1 show in America for 5 straight years, from 1984 to 1989, 5 seasons. And thank goodness It's Friday was started because they wanted to capitalize on the fact that most kids, younger kids, was capitalized to younger generations, to kids that were at home when their parents were out and they were with the babysitter. That's why they created it. So they had to create family-oriented content. And Cosby made it possible because at that time in the early 80s, before the Cosby Show came on, it was soap opera dramas that ruled late night television, that ruled prime time. You remember Dallas? You remember Knots Landing, Dynasty? They were getting CBS was kicking NBC's ass. Yeah, I just saw the Saints out of the playoffs, even though they won. I've never heard that, Danielle. And I like Bob Saget. I've seen his stand-ups, and I've laughed when I was a kid. I laughed real hard at some stuff he did. He is get it back. Let's get back to Sidney Poitier. I always watched Family Matters. Back when I was a kid, yeah, I love Family Matters. I've never heard that, Danielle. I don't want to say nothing I don't know anything about. But Sidney Poitier, he did 3 of those films with Bill Cosby, such as Let's Do It Again, Uptown Saturday Night, which was the first one. He also did A Piece of the Action, which was their final collaboration, although he did direct Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby. And that's something a lot of people don't know, how great of a director Sidney Poitier was. He did Stir Crazy. So he died on Thursday night at his home in Los Angeles at the age of 94. His death was confirmed by Eugene Torshan Nuri, who is the acting director general of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Bahamas, where Sidney Poitier grew up. Now, Mr. Poitier won an Oscar in 1960 for the 1963 film Lilies of the Field. He was the first Black performer to win the Best Actor category, rose to prominence when the civil rights movement was beginning to make headway in the United States. His roles tended to reflect the peaceful integrationist goals of the struggle. Although often smearing with repressed anger, his characters responded to injustice with quiet determination. They met hatred with reason and forgiveness, sending a reassuring message to the white audience and exposing Mr. Poitier at an awkward time when the civil rights movement took a more militant turn in the late 1960s. Of course, he did the movie To Sir with Love with Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn in 1960. Not To Sir with Love. Yes, Who's Coming to Dinner? Who was a doctor who had an interracial relationship with the character Catherine Houghton. If you know the film Guess Who with Bernie Mac and Mike Epps and Ashton Kutcher, Bernie Mac was playing the role that Spencer Tracy did. They reversed it, though, made Ashton Kutcher the fiance and Bernie Mac's daughter the object of Ashton Kutcher's affection. He was one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood and a top box office office draw, ranking 5th among male actors, only behind Richard Burton, Paul Newman, Lee Marvin, and John Wayne. One of his big roles that he did was with Tony Curtis was the film No Way Out. No Way Out. That was the Defiant Ones. I apologize. He played a doctor persecuted by a racist patient. Cry of the Beloved Country, based on the Alan Paton novel about racism in South Africa. Black Boy Jungle. But of course, I loved him in The Heat of the Night. Now, if anything, and some people are calling him Uncle Tom for that movie, for his roles like To Serve with Love and stuff. But I loved In the Heat of the Night. I'm not gonna when he slapped this white man. Let's see if we can find it. But this is what made. This is why I love Sidney Poitier.
Well, we don't want to take any more of your time. Why did you two come here?
To ask you about Mr. Colbert. Let me understand this. You two came here to question me? Well, your attitudes, Mr. Endicott, your points of view are a matter of record. Some people, well, let us say the people who work for Mr. Colbert might reasonably regard you as the person least likely to mourn his passing. We were just trying to clarify some of the evidence. Was Mr. Colbert ever in this greenhouse, say last night, about midnight?
Gillespie? Yeah. You saw it. I saw it. But what are you going to do about it? I don't know. I'll remember that. There was a time when I could have had you shot.
I just broke the white man's jaw. With the butler. Man, he got you. Butler shaking his head. He's crying. You know, he was crying. Yeah, I love the TV show In the Heat of the Night with In the Heat of the Night with Carol O'Connor playing Gillespie and Howard Rollins was playing Virgil Tibbs. And interesting enough, from what I read about the film In the Heat of the Night, that scene that you saw, first off, everything was shot in Illinois. It was set in Sparta, Mississippi, but the film was shot in Sparta, Illinois. And Sidney Poitier, in my understanding, and just from what I'm reading, he had reservations going to the South. He didn't want to do it. He did not want to come down there. He did not want to come south of the Mason-Dixon line. Now, there were parts of the film that was shot in Tennessee, and other parts were filmed in Illinois, so he had to come down there and do that. But he did not want to do that. And that scene where he slaps Endicott, that scene was not going to be in the movie. According to the textbook, Civil Rights and Race Relations, Poitier gave a statement saying, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll make this movie for you if you give me your absolute guarantee, my Sidney Poitier voice, when he slaps me, I slap him right back, and you guarantee that it will play in every version of this movie. I try not to do things that are against nature. The show was filmed in Covington, Georgia. That is right, Taisha. Yeah. You know how we all know about this? Because our grandparents watched it at night. When that came on, that meant it was time to go to bed. That and MASH, and what's the other ones? Walker, Texas Ranger. That's the soap operas. That's what our grandmothers love. Now, I'm reading this here. So, Mark Harris, in his book Pictures at a Revolution, states the copies of the original draft of the screenplay clearly depict the scene as filmed, which has been confirmed by both Jewison and Silliphant. Now, Silliphant, I believe, was the screenwriter. He wrote the screenplay based off the book by John Ball. So what they did was Mark Harris, he says here that copies of the original, while Poitier was correct, that Tibbs' slapping of Endicott was not originally envisioned. After Endicott's slap, Silliphant's initial can do to restrain himself. The butler drops his head, starts to pray for him, Uncle Tom. Tibbs says furiously, "Not for me." Tibbs' counterslaps first appear in Silliphant's revised step outline. Tibbs urging the butler to pray for Endicott was part of Silliphant's adaptation In the Heat of the Night as a subversive Christian allegory, featuring Tibbs as the messianic outsider who confronts the racist establishment of Sparta. Now, this film is also important for being the first major Hollywood film in color that was lit with proper consideration for a Black person. Haskell Wexler recognized the standard strong lighting used in film intended to produce too much glare on dark complexions and rendered the features indistinct. Accordingly, Wexler adjusted the lighting to feature Poitier with better photographic results. Yeah, but he came there to visit his mother, and he's a policeman from Philadelphia. And of course, you know the story of what happens. He gets there, and they don't initially like him, but they end up working together to solve this case. But let's finish talking about the man, Sidney Poitier, of course, with his passing, is the golden age. He's one of the few left, I believe, or one of the last few of that age of in Hollywood, of those actors from the 1950s and so on. I don't believe you have anyone else that fit that criteria that Sidney Poitier did. And just some of my favorite films that he did. Mr. Poitier did, of course, I said Uptown Saturday Night, and which is one of my favorite movies. Of course, I love Let's Do It Again. A Piece of the Action, which was all the films he did with Bill Cosby. We see here, Mr. Poitier had 6 children, all girls, including his daughter Sidney. He's married twice, first to Juanita Hardy from April 29, 1950 until 1965. They raised a family. He had 4 daughters with Juanita. Says here he had an affair with Diane Carroll 9 years. He was married to Joanna Chimicus, a Canadian actress who starred with Poitier in The Lost Man. In 1969, on January 23rd, 1976, they were married for the remainder of his life. He had 4 daughters with his first wife, Beverly, Pamela, Sherry, and Gina, and 2 with his second, Anika, and we know Sidney Tamia, who is, I know her from the film, a couple of films she did back in the day, but mainly I remember her from Death Proof as Jungle Julia. believe one of Sidney's daughters predeceases him in depth from what I was reading, who passed away. Many people have spoken. Harry Belafonte, Bill Cosby, of course, released a statement. Belafonte starred in many films with Sidney Poitier. In fact, they did Uptown Saturday Night together. But I believe also Sidney was roommates with your Harry Belafonte when they were starting out. Many people paid tribute to the star, even former President Barack Obama, who called him a singular talent who epitomized dignity and grace. Morgan Freeman released statements. We also have Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones, by the way, wrote that song In the Heat of the Night. He composed the music for that. I had this up here. Now, I do want to play just briefly a video that I have from Bill Cosby, who released the statement. Of course, he talked about his friendship with Sidney Poitier. You know, this was another film I loved, The Raisin in the Sun. I saw the film of which the play was based off. I remember when I was about 8, 9 years old, my mom actually rented it for us because she wanted us to look at that. And I think my brother had to do a book report on it. So, you know, that was back in the time when you could watch the movie and think you'd get more out of the book. Mr. Poitier, a couple of things about him, was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II in 1974. His last film was a film called in 1998 called The Jackal, where he played an FBI agent. He retired from acting at that point. That movie, of course, starred Richard Gere and Bruce Willis. Despite his role in changing American perceptions of race and opening a door to a new generation of Black actors, Mr. Poitier remained modest about his career. History will pinpoint me as merely a minor element in an ongoing major event, a small, if necessary, energy. But I am nonetheless gratified at having been chosen. So yeah, man, I mean, we're losing a lot of legends today. But, you know, he directed Stir Crazy with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. That was one of my favorite films. I think one of the best Richard Pryor films. You know, We Bad. That was one of them. And let me just go here now and play a video of Bill Cosby, who released a statement. Now, this is one of my favorite. I wanted to play the actual statement. We had the link. Okay, so here it is here, but I want to play this clip. This is my favorite.
I'm looking for a corny little runt named Seymour Pettigrew. Seymour Pettigrew! Come out! I'm little Seymour.
And I'm Big Percy. What you turkeys want?
Let's get a few things straight.
Yeah. First, whoever hits Zenobia is going to pay for it with the skin off their tail when I find out who it is. Because me and her is tight. And second, that story you just told me is bullshit. Here's
Now this is going to end off. It ended on the best part when Bill Cosby gets out of the way and he flies through the That's the best part of the film. But Bill Cosby released a statement with Black Press USA.
Along with many stars of stage and screen, politics, higher education came out to the stage one at a time to speak. I brought with me paperback his autobiography. Autobiography. Mm-hmm. And I said, of all the quote unquote groundbreaking movies that Sidney starred in. This book is the real story of this man and his journey. I am honored to have been close enough to him in work and serious matters. And that's it. Well, yeah, that is a mouthful anyway. Let me just not for publication, but let me ask you this, just as a fan, what was it like working with him on those three movies in the 70s? They did great movies. I loved them. I think I've watched each of them at least 3 or 4 dozen times. If you look up the history, I may be off base, but Sidney was one of 4 stars. They named it 4-star productions, I think. And what angered me the most about it was they gave Sidney the lowest amount of money to produce a film. They gave Sidney the most pressure to bring it in on time. And from my viewpoint, they really didn't give him the first class card that they gave the other stars. And very little media has ever said how much money those films made. But I'm sure Sidney's success with those Three films was his daughters. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Harry Belafonte even released a statement. He said his daughter even said that this is probably the most difficult thing that he's had to deal with in his life because he and Sidney Poitier were close. Mr. Belafonte, who was a civil rights icon, I have great respect for him. Actually, he released this statement saying, he was truly my brother and partner in trying to make this world a little better. He certainly made mine a whole lot better. Mr. Poitier also, it's important to note, he served in the United States Army. But he's Bahamian. He did serve in the United States Army during World War II. He enlisted lying about his age, and he worked in the VA's administration in New York and was trained to work with psychiatric patients. He became upset at how the hospital treated its patients and feigned mental illness to obtain a discharge. So after leaving the Army, he worked as a dishwasher until he got an audition that landed him a role in the American Negro theater production. He was an ambassador of the Bahamas from 1997 to 2007 and an ambassador to UNESCO from 2002 to 2007. Now, I didn't know this, but Lou Gossett Jr. who's still around. He was actually in that film, Raisin in the Sun. But he was the last of a generation. I loved, of course, his films like Let's Do It Again, which was shot in New Orleans. Yeah, I got it, Trinidad. It was shot in New Orleans and Atlanta. They were trying to raise funds to save the Fraternal Lodge, the sons and daughters of Shaka. Now, what's interesting too about that film, that had Ossie Davis at one, as well as Jimmy Walker, Denise Nichols, Lee Chamberlain, John Amos was in it, and Calvin Lockhart, a few other individuals. But that whole soundtrack was made by Curtis Mayfield, and that was a booming soundtrack. The Mavis Staples and the Staples Singers singing "Let's Do It Again," which I think was #1 at that time. What's up, Derek Bailey? But "To Sir with Love," which is the title of Sidney Poitier's movie that was shot out in England, I believe. May he rest in peace. He lived a long life, a successful life, 94 years. 94 years. Sidney Poitier has lived. Now, his daughter, I was mentioning, who passed away, her name was Gina. So this is from his first marriage. And she was the youngest of the daughters of his first marriage. Yeah. But may he rest in peace, Mr. Poitier. He lived a long life. This is when he won his Oscar. But yeah, his roles that he played, early roles, of course, he wasn't a militant type guy where he was going to fight the power and so forth, beat up the white man or anything like that. He was an integrationist, but he was dignified. He had pride about himself. how he carried himself, how he dressed, how he talked. He spoke the king's English. He carried himself properly. Now, I remember one of the first movies I remember Sidney Poitier in. He played Simon the Syrian in The Greatest Story Ever Told. He had a non-speaking role as Simon who carried the cross of Christ to his crucifixion, which was honestly the only film, with the exception of the Passion of the Christ, where they showed Simon the Syrian honestly and accurately as an African. Yeah, this is Simon the Syrian. I remember this. And that was a epic film that was shot with an epic film that was shot with Charlton Heston and Max von, what's his name? Sydow. That's Max von Sydow, who played in The Exorcist. He was Father Merrin. Yeah, and he just died like last year. Him and Christopher Plummer. I mean, all those guys that look alike. Yeah. At any rate, I don't wish death on, I certainly don't wish death on anyone. May they rest in peace. May Miss. Sorry about that. May Mr. Poitier rest in peace, ladies and gentlemen. But also, sadly, and I'm going to move on to the next story, we have the death of James Mtume. Now, James Mtume, you may have, if you know R&B, if you're an old head, you know this song right here. I'm about to get a copyright strike, so I can't play all of it. I can't, as much as I want to. But he wrote this song, Juicy. He did this song, and Juicy Fruit, yeah. So James Mtume, and there's been no cause of death from the information that I've gathered, but at the age of 75, he has passed away. Stephanie Mills sent the news out in word. Stephanie Mills, of course, our R&B songstress, our queen, she had first reported the news of his passing. He had just celebrated his 76th birthday on January 3rd. So he's passed away nearly 6 days after his birthday. It says here that he was born James Foreman. He was raised in South Philadelphia, and he was the son of jazz saxophonist Jimmy Heath, but raised by his stepfather, a local jazz pianist named James Foreman. He learned to play piano and percussion, and by the time he was a teenager, he was pursuing athletics as a swimmer, having achieved the title as the first Black Middle Atlantic AAU champion in the backstroke. And in 1966, he entered Pasadena City College on a swimming scholarship. He changed his last name to Mtume, joining the US organization, which was founded by Hakeem Jamal and Ala Karinga. Ron Karinga, of course, is the one who created Kwanzaa. Y'all know the one that Judge Joe Brown hates. That damn Ron Karinga was an agent. He shut up many of my friends for hits. Fuck him. I don't celebrate anything that Ron Karinga does. Yeah. Well, he just passed, Brother Derek. Now, he wrote this song. He wrote that song And believe it or not, I was reading that he was still fighting over the rights to this song. In 2018, if you read his Wikipedia page here, he had filed a lawsuit against Sony Music and Epic Records, hoping to reclaim the rights to for 2 albums and sits Juicy Fruit. He had maintained that he was the sole copyright holder of those recordings, but Sony insisted the albums were made for hire. Now, when you work for hire, there's a difference, of course. Now, I'm not a copyright attorney, but I do understand when you're talking about work for hire and you're talking about versus, you know, your own product. You're talking about working solo, owning your own thing. There's a difference when you're when you're a work for hire versus holding a copyright. What it is that you're employed by someone to write these songs and given a salary versus getting royalties from it, if that's my understanding. So he was looking to reclaim the rights to his song. And I can't obviously look at the article because I got to log in and become a member of Billboard. But yeah. So he was fighting to get his rights back to those songs. Now, back in 1978, there was a law that was passed that allowed copyright holders to retain the rights to their music 35 years later if it was made after after a certain date. Obviously, this coming in effect in the 1970s. So Juicy Fruit was written in 1982. It was a hit and was #1 on the R&B charts in 1983. And of course, it has been sampled in many albums, many songs. Of course, none other than your boy, It Was All a Dream. Biggie sampled it for Juicy Fruit. He sampled it for Juicy, excuse me. So it's a license to print money. It's been over 35 years. That's why he filed the suit, because he wanted to reclaim his rights to it. And that's a license to print money, of course. So the last that I heard, I don't know what the pending litigation on it is, but as I'm looking at the court record, Sony had filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit, but the court denied this. The court agreed with him too, May. They said he argued that granting Sony's motion to dismiss would be inappropriate because significant factual disputes remain. First off, whether he was given a proper termination notice. Did he follow the steps? And to make a long story short, because I do want to move the show on, the court agreed with him, but nevertheless, sadly, Mr. Mtume passed away. Of course, his children or the estate may still sue on his behalf and continue the lawsuit. He was the father of music producers Damu and Fa Mtume. So there's been no cause as to his death of what killed him, other than he's just passed away. But sadly, Mr. Mtume, who was a great songwriter, obviously They also wrote some other songs that he wrote included The Closer I Get to You, which was a smash hit for Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway. He also wrote Never Knew Love Like This, which was a song Stephanie Mills turned into a Billboard Hot 100 hit and won a Grammy for Best R&B and Female Vocal R&B Performance. So may he rest in peace, Brother James Mtume. Great songwriter. Unfortunately, I wish I could meet these guys. I mean, we got legends that are going out, people. We have legends that we're losing left and right. So we got to protect them. We got to preserve the legacy. Preserve the legacy of these guys. But great songwriter. Yeah. And, of course, from Philadelphia soul, that's where it all comes from. So may he rest in peace. All right. So we're going to move on, ladies and gentlemen. I'll talk about this now. Of course, you saw this. I did this on Friday with the McMichaels being sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. And Roddy Bryan facing life with who gets life, not facing, was convicted with life, but with the possibility of parole. So on Friday was the sentencing of the McMichaels and William Roddy Bryan. And most people thought I thought that the judge probably was going to be a little bit easier on them, but I had a feeling that it was not going to be that way because and I listened to what had happened, what we know has taken place. And based on following the statute, the judge has to follow the law that was given. And when you're convicted of murder with malice and intent, which is what your Travis McMichael was convicted on all 9 counts. His father only beat the malice charge, but was convicted on other counts of. He was also convicted of murder. He sentenced them to life without the possibility of parole. William Roddy Bryan, the only reason why he was sentenced with the possibility of parole was because he cooperated with the police. So the judge, even in the sentencing requirements, stated he wanted to separate the two because he realized that there was some mitigating factors in those circumstances. So we're going to go to ABC News with the latest on this. This is Judge Timothy Walmsley. Ladies and gentlemen.
The judge in the Ahmaud Arbery case. Today, he sentenced the 3 men in the killing of Arbery in Brunswick, Georgia, all of them facing life in prison. But the judge had to decide whether any of them deserved a chance at parole decades from now. The judge in court carefully choosing his words, sharing his own thoughts, what led to his decision. At one point, reminding the courtroom that Ahmaud Arbery ran from that truck for 5 minutes as they chased him. The judge telling the court he would stop talking himself for a full minute. There was silence. He then said that was just a fraction of the time that Arbery was chased. Travis McMichael, who fired the shot and killed Arbery, his father, Gregory McMichael, and their neighbor, William Roddy Bryan. Both Travis McMichael and his father were sentenced to life in prison without parole. And William Roddy Bryan, the neighbor who was with them, who shot this video, was the only one who the judge said showed any concern in the moments after that deadly shooting. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. The court hearing from Ahmaud Arbery's family, his sister, his father, and his mother, who said the men showed no leniency when they murdered her son, so they do not deserve leniency either. ABC's Steve Osunsami leading us off tonight from Georgia with what the judge said.
Inside the South Georgia courtroom, the families watching from their seats were praying as the judge began to read.
As to Travis McMichael. Mr. McMichael, the court sentences you as follows. Count 1, malice murder, life without the possibility of parole.
State law required the judge to hand the 3 men who murdered Ahmaud Arbery life sentences, And the only mercy he could show was to allow them to be eligible for parole after 30 years. But for Travis McMichael, who fired the fatal shot, and his father, Gregory, a former police officer, the judge refused parole. They will die in prison.
They chose to target my son because they didn't want him in their community. They chose to treat him differently than other people who frequently visited their community.
In a powerful moment, Judge Timothy Walmsley sat in silence for one of the 5 minutes that Ahmaud Arbery ran for his life. And he said that this piece of video helped make up his mind, seeing the son and his father turn their backs on the young black man who was dying in the street.
His death should force us to consider expanding our definition of what a neighbor may be and how we treat them. I believe that assuming the worst in others, we show our worst character.
Because he cooperated with investigators, the judge decided that 52-year-old William Roddy Bryant will be eligible for parole after serving 30 years. He recorded the video of the killing.
Mr. Bryan isn't the one who brought a gun. He was unarmed.
Outside the courthouse, friends and family of the victim let out cheers. Arbery's mother, who tearfully spoke in court, called today a victory for justice.
I sat in that courtroom for 5 weeks straight, but I knew that we would come out with a victory. Yes. I never doubted it.
And Steve, we know these 3 convicted killers also still face federal charges on civil rights violations. But that moment in the courtroom today, when the judge described Ahmaud Arbery being chased for 5 minutes, the judge had the entire courtroom sitting in silence for that full minute, and his point was made with that silence.
It was a powerful way of putting you in the victim's shoes, and a reminder that he's being chased by men in trucks as he ran. And the judge pointed out that much of the reason why he was being chased had to do with assumptions based on color. That federal civil rights trial against these same 3 men begins exactly a month from tonight. David?
Steve Osunsami leading us off tonight from Georgia. Steve, thank you.
We see the police officers get away with things all the time. We see police officers who claim, I was scared, I was afraid, I feared for my life. And so they will get away with this and can get away with killing someone based off that. Well, the only exception here for this was that these are not police officers. These were, even though they had ties to law enforcement, these were private citizens. They took the law, and even the judge talked about it in his sentencing hearing. At the hearing, they took the law into their own hands. And as a result of that, they've paid the ultimate consequence. Now, your Roddy Bryant, he gets it. The reason why it was a lighter sentence was because while he participated in trying to capture Ahmaud Arbery, he cooperated with the investigators, and plus he did provide them with information. The other thing too was he gave them. He was not the one pulling the trigger, so that's what I think saved him. Although he's technically not saved, he's still sentenced to life, but he will be an old man by the time in his 80s before he can get considered for parole. Whereas Travis McMichael and Gregory McMichael will die in prison, barring their appeals. They're actually going to be in federal court as we speak. By the way, Ahmaud Arbery's mother, you guys may have not seen this, but the feds wanted her to talk about taking a plea deal in this matter so that they could try and get charges, civil rights charges against the 3 men to stick and they do time in federal prison. Well, she was not buying that. And kudos to her because of, kudos to her with that, because had she done so, what likely would have happened, first and foremost, it's very hard to get a civil rights charge against other individuals, especially if they're not state officials. That's one thing. There's a possibility it wouldn't have stick. So they probably would have gotten far less time for this. Actually gone ahead, had the family gone ahead and did the federal civil rights charges. So she did not go for that. So kudos to her. Uh, I did see where, and I showed you where she spoke when I spoke Friday, where the husband, her Ahmad's father spoke, and his sister all spoke in his memory and honor. And the judge did right in sentencing them. I don't know what I would have, as an attorney, I do think it was a mistake for Kevin Goff, who filed, I told you before, he filed a motion for a cruel and unusual punishment to protect his client, which is what you're supposed to do. But I would have filed a motion for severance for separating all three of their trials and having my own individual trial, because I think he would have had a jury that would have been much more sympathetic. Probably, I don't know if much more sympathetic would be the case, but it probably would have worked out maybe even far better than what he had. I don't know why he wanted to try it with those individuals, but I would have filed a motion to sever that. But nevertheless, he went with it. They gambled, and they lost. But his client is not going to be sentenced for life. I mean, we'll have a chance to get out. So it's kind of a win for him, kind of not, because he didn't get obviously a full acquittal, but his client does get a chance, if he survives, to live a little bit longer and get a chance for parole. But nevertheless, this was a shout out and kudos for Miss Arbery, Miss Wanda, for staying on code with this, brothers and sisters. And I hope that while they will never get their son back, that they do get some semblance of justice and peace, knowing that his killers have been put behind bars. All right, y'all. So hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you like what you see, ladies and gentlemen. If you like the channel, we're going to begin. We're getting into our last two topics. So those who don't know who this young lady is, Suni Lee, she is the young Olympic gold medalist who filled in for Simone Biles, if you remember, in the 2021 Olympics in gymnastics. She has been getting there's been some controversy surrounding her, especially in her community, with regards to her boyfriend. Now, Suni Lee is dating this young man from Auburn University, and his name is oh, a second. Why did I put his name? His name was right here. Okay, so they didn't put his name here. I thought his name would have been here, but this is her boyfriend. And she, of course, she's a freshman at Auburn now, so she's 18. Three-time Olympic gold medal, three-time Olympic medalist, and she started a new relationship with this young brother. And apparently, people are commenting about it. Now, Suni Lee is a member of the Hmong community. Hmong community. Now, if you know anything about the Hmong, they are people from Thailand. Hmong. And they're indigenous people that mainly lives in Southwest China, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar. Now, they have a population in the United States of over about 327,000 people. Now, you find many of them living in the North Midwest, like in communities like Michigan and Minnesota. If you saw the movie Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood, they talk about that. That's what that is centered around. that film in particular, where Clint Eastwood plays the racist Vietnam Korean War veteran Kowalski. He lives next door to to the homo community, to new neighbors who are homo American, and he's extremely, it explores his relationship with his young neighbor. So he is forced to confront his prejudiced views living next door to them. And he forms a bond with a young man named Tao. But to get it back, but I'm just giving you some reference. Now, get it back to Suni Lee. And, she's a cute young lady. And she's an Olympic medalist, and she loves this black boyfriend. There are people in our community who don't like this. Now, it says here someone had posted a TikTok video leaving where she talked about a fan, his name Elixir Farm, who merely shared a screenshot of her Instagram post and expressed support. I know that Sunisa will be judged by certain eyes in the homo community because her man is black. The caption reads, "Love is love no matter what race or gender you are. Keep doing you, queen." And she responded by saying, "This makes me so happy. I've received so much hate. They support me when it's beneficial for them, never when it comes to my happiness. Thank you." Now, your O'Shea Duke Jackson, who I have great respect for, I enjoy his videos very much. He commented on this situation, and he talked about how you don't think that the members in her community don't want her to date inside her own race, where what it looks like, according to his statements, and I see his point. He was talking about, well, you married outside. When someone marries outside their race, it makes it seem like you don't think your own people are better for you. And O'Shea, to his credit, was saying, I don't believe that. Meaning, in other words, I don't believe that means, he was saying, I don't believe the idea, and tying it into what those fools from Fresh and Fit were talking about, how they don't date black women. He did not believe that it's not possible you can date inside the race. He didn't believe that. That's what O'Shea was talking about, from what I gathered. And we have to talk about, because we hear this stuff like stop Asian hate, be kind. You have Biden signing these executive orders for Asian community. We need to address, though, and I've said this before, the racial bigotry that comes out of the Asian community towards blacks. There has been countless examples, just like you had in Chicago, where this Japanese restaurant refused to serve these blacks that were coming in there to eat. Yet we don't hear anything about that. There's no news on that. I believe, I don't know what the status of that is. Harvey did a video on it. They just said that they were under fire. And it was from this TikTok video. I'm going to pull it up. The Chicago Defender did an article with that about it. It says here, a Japanese restaurant in Illinois went viral this week after two black sisters said they were denied service by the eatery. On Sunday, a TikTok user, Labella Monet, posted a now viral video of the incident that took place at the Nori Japan restaurant in Fox Valley Mall in Aurora, Illinois. In this video, the person filming says that her sister is actively trying to pay for the food, but the man behind the counter denies serving her because a black customer didn't pay for their food earlier that day. Because she's black, because another black person took your food and didn't pay, you're not going to serve my sister. The TikToker can be heard saying in a video, you can't do that, sir. That's discrimination. You can't tell her you're not going to serve her because she's black because of what someone else did today. You people no pay money, the man replies. What does that have to do with us? The TikToker asks back. I don't know what you're talking about, sir. We're not affiliated with them. And he says, I don't know, same face. You just had an Atlanta sushi bar. I'm looking at this. But we need to have a conversation about this. We don't hear that. We don't hear this. We don't hear any talk about it. And what Suni Lee says, to tie it back with her, I know for a fact, my brother once had was close with this. You know, in New Orleans, we have a strong East. We have a Vietnamese community. You guys know what I'm talking about. Village de East, that's out past Chef Mentor Highway, further down this way. I'm talking about their own community. They have their own grocery stores, their own gas station, their own facility, anything you can name, except maybe shopping centers and so forth. They still got to come out here just like us, or go to Jefferson Parish and Slidell to shop. And what specifically, he talked about an incident that happened. When I remember, he had a friend who was Asian, Vietnamese, from that community. And I remember she was cute. She was nice. They talked a little bit, not dating or anything, but they were just friends. And she talked about how her family, if she found out she ever were dating outside her race, particularly if she were dating a black man, how she would be ostracized by her family because they didn't accept that. And in those communities, they have a disdain for black men and black people. You remember when Floyd Mayweather was fighting Manny Pacquiao, and they were referring to Floyd Mayweather as a knock knock, which was an epithet in the Philippines for nigger. That's what they thought of Floyd Mayweather. Latasha Harlins, the sister that was killed in the 90s, by the Sundung Lee woman who was shot in the back of her head. I remember Harry Lee, I talked about him, who was the sheriff of Jefferson Parish, one of the most racist, low-down bastards who was ever given a badge. I remember, we don't talk about that. Now, she says something, they like it when everything I do is beneficial for them, but nothing else. They like me when I'm winning, but they hate me when I do something for me. Because it makes them look good.
That's a penalty, and we end up, that can come back to cost you play like that. I think we lost like 11 or 12 yards because of the kickoff. So instead of them,
so what do y'all think of this story? We got to expose them. Expose them. A hashtag, expose them first. We got them first them, expose them first. And look, they talk about how she returned home and parade was thrown in her honor and she received an outpouring of support from the home community. But you bring home a black man, they're going to eat you up. And then, like, you can't, they have the mindset, well, wait, you can't date inside your race. You can't date one of ours. And in truthfulness, to what O'Shea was saying, it is true because sometimes a lot of us, we see like I see the I see white boys getting the baddest of the bad of sisters versus some black celebrities who get average white girls, just average ones. I mean, look at Serena and her husband. I seen the finest sisters, the baddest sisters. You know, Iman going to married with David Bowie. I'm not gonna knock her, but I don't like her. Beverly Johnson. All she messed with was white boys. Although, back in the day, she messed with everybody, not just white boys. But yeah, so I get to what O'Shea is saying, but we got to call this stuff out when we see it and expose them, ladies and gentlemen, because we keep taking the hits for other people, and I'm frankly sick of it. Now, I'm hearing this. Let's go to our next story. I got to laugh at this. It seems like the end is near for Joy Reid and trouble with Black News Channel. Now, I remember when Black News Channel was getting started, I was coming out in support of it because I wanted to see how this channel was going to be. It could actually support it. And people were were cautious of it because we saw that J.C. Watts was one of the people behind it. If you know who J.C. Watts is, he is a staunch conservative, Black conservative. He's one of the chairpersons of Black News Channel. He's the chairman of Student Affairs. The investor for it is Shadid Khan. And I pointed this out before. Robert Brilliante is the owner of the Black News Channel. He's the owner and chief executive officer. Now, here's a picture of him here. Now, of course, I fell out with them, especially the way they reacted. And honestly, they don't have news anchors on there. What they have is basically paid professional trolls who have no professionalism. No, they are not journalists, not respected. Mark Lamont Hill, of all people, should not be a journalist, but he has a show on there that they've given him, and he has been biased in his reportings. But this is your owner of the Black News Channel, ladies and gentlemen. He's the chief executive officer. And what's been reported now is that Black Enterprise News is under fire for this gender discrimination. A lawsuit has been filed by 13 women who are accusing the network of gender discrimination in the workplace. Cheryl Ring, an anti-poverty attorney, is representing the women in the case. The lawsuit aims not only to shed light on unlawful discrimination, but to shift the culture of the BNC workplace to be more inclusive for all Black people, including its women employees, according to a tweet she posted. As this alleged in the second amended complaint, this culture of discrimination extends from the company's employee handbook, which unlawfully bans employees from discussing their rates of pay, to reassigning employees to work in the departments of the men who harass them. Among other general allegations, the court documents highlights the fact that BCN employs approximately 300, of whom about half are women. Women at Black News Channel are routinely paid less than men in equivalent positions and forced to conform to sexist or misogynist stereotypes about how women are supposed to behave. The suit was originally filed by two employees, Ashley Fleet and Claudia Jean, in August, but the two women claimed to have had similar experiences. Fleet was a producer who according to Fleet, she claimed the producer berated her and called her insufficiently feminine through her headset as she was on air. Fleet claimed she was fired because she reported the issue to Human Resources and that she was underpaid during her time as a reporter. Jean, who was also dismissed, claims that she was also referred to as insufficiently feminine and aggressive. So these are some of the other women in there, including Maria Roach, Felicia Burton, Lauren Coleman, Kyra Branch, and Keisha Wilkinson. As you all remember, around the Christmas holidays, Black News Channel was engaging in some layoffs of many of their employees. Now, to top it off with that, we also are hearing that Joy Reid's show is coming to an end on MSNBC. According to sources at Techno Trends, it states here, following a reshuffling at MSNBC, host Joy Reid is facing the prospect of losing her show this spring, eliciting a barrage of social media reactions. Reid was dubbed a racist after comparing Kyle Rittenhouse's white male tears to Brett Kavanaugh, according to MEAWW. We also covered how the anchor sparked outrage by saying that the people on the right will trade their tax cuts for the freedom to use racial slurs openly. Joy Reid compares the Texas Republican Party to the Taliban for threatening women with bounties over the state's abortion law. A source at Comcast, of which MSNBC Universal is a subsidiary, claimed that the readout would be canceled in the spring, according to a tweet by former Mediaite managing editor John Nicosia. Nicosia tweeted, Joy Reid will lose her 7 p.m. show in the next round of MSNBC reshuffling. She will not have a show come mid-spring. The decision has been made. The only thing left is messaging on the move, which will be ratings, Nicosia stated on January 6. Now, he went on further, saying that, as was the case with Chris Cuomo at CNN, Reid has allies at Comcast. However, she is now viewed as unmanageable by many. Also, similar to Cuomo, it appears that those allies have found out she has been less than truthful about past incidents. Now, where should I start first? So I'll start with Joy Reid. Joy Reid, along with, if you remember, Tamron Hall, Al Sharpton, and a few others that were on MSNBC, they were actually going to, their shows, if you remember, and Melissa Jones Perry, their shows were actually starting to get canceled right around the time Obama was about to leave office. And around that same time, Tom Joyner's show, it was reported that his show was going to be ending in 2016, the radio show, with Obama being leaving of office. And Radio One, I believe they're not under Radio One, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know who owns the Tom Joyner show, but many of these networks, these radio networks, as you know, black media, as we call it, has been bought up by these outside corporations. For instance, you listen to most of the R&B stations, they don't exist anymore. While they play R&B music, there's no black talk anymore, no black talk radio. That has been dwindled. There are a few left in the country, but it has dwindled down in years and numbers. It is not a surprise that Joy Reid and these guys are being fired, and that is because when, as the old saying goes, or as Sean James would say, when you go woke, you go broke. People are tired of media that is slanted and biased. Then most Americans would like the news that they had back in the 1960s and 80s, which was, and even early 90s, which was, you be fair and honest with the reporting. Let us decide what we believe is true from what you say. You report the facts and let us make our own conclusions based off the facts that are made. That is how media should be. What we have is talking pieces on different networks for one political party and the other. And that is what your MSNBC with Joy Reid has become. She is the talking mouth, essentially, for the Democrats. Let's not forget what Al Sharpton did when you had someone from MSNBC use a racial slur and Al Sharpton defend her. Let us not forget how in this recent election, you've had people on MSNBC going hard for the Democratic Party and calling out your Ice Cube and others for asking for tangibles. Joy Reid was a part of that, calling people who didn't, who were questioning uh, things, especially foundational Black Americans, when Donald Trump got elected, calling them bots, going along with that. Joy Reid was a part of that. And so this is her comeuppance for all of those years for being a mouthpiece for the Democrats. It will not fly anymore, ladies and gentlemen. We will not stand for it. We cannot stand for it. Now, when it comes to your Black News Channel, I have to apologize because I was very supportive of them initially. I said, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. I, of course, have seen that they have removed any doubt that I may have had in this. They certainly, Black News Channel, have exposed themselves for what they are. I've talked about it before. I have been disgusted and disappointed in many of the things that I have seen with BNC. I do not like what they did when they had Mark Lamont Hill talking about Bill Cosby, and especially those other two anchors, that one from Atlanta with all that weave. I can't think of her name offhand. Sharon something, and that other sissy that's on there with her. I don't care for him either. Because, if you're going to do news, do news. If you're going to give an opinion piece, if you're going to give gossip and give your opinion, start a blog, video blog if you want. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. But you're called the Black News Channel or the Black News Network, whatever it is, BNC, BDC, BB King NC. I don't know. Come up with some reporting. Do some news. You don't like Mr. Cosby, you don't like this, you don't like that. Ain't about what you like. It's about the news. It's about reporting the facts. These people don't do that. These people do not do that. At any rate, guys, what say you all about this? What do you think is going on with the news, with this information? How do you think BNC will do, MSNBC? I think, and I want to make this last point, we have to give new Black media in particular, ladies and gentlemen, plays a large role, I think, in what's happening with this, because we have exposed much of what we have seen, what is being reported, what they are doing on these networks. People are frustrated and they flock to us. You all flock to me. You flock to Nicole. You flock to Sean and Harvey and Professor Black Troop, Jason Black, and Tariq Nasheed, because you want the facts. You want the information. You want people, most importantly, you want somebody that talks like you. So if you want to continue seeing us, ladies and gentlemen, keep flocking to us. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. But yeah, BNC and Joy Reid, yeah, they're in trouble. And believe me, this is karma. But if you all like this channel, if you like what you see, please hit that like, share, subscribe button, donate to the Cash App at the bottom. And let me be clear too, I don't wish people getting fired. That's not my dream at all. But I do want to say, and point out that your when BNC was in trouble, I hated seeing people lose their jobs, but they do that when, number one, you make bad business decisions. That's one thing. And the other is that you alienate your base. It's the same thing that Gillette did when they did these woke commercials a couple of years back. Y'all remember about the best that man can get. And then it became all about the Me Too movement. And they actually lost business because people were not supporting that. They were saying, well, wait a minute. We are males. We are your biggest tax base. We are your consumer, and you're throwing shots at us. So they weren't feeling that. So understandably so, people boycotted and people protested. But what say you all? I need you all to hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Donate to the Cash App that you see, Gavin Richard Esquire, if you're enjoying this live stream. Those that are, of course, going to check back on the playback, because I know right now your Jason Black is doing his broadcast, so I know everybody's flipped on in there. Shout out to you, King VJ, Brother Bernard. I saw that you was hollering at me earlier. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get ahead and wrap this up. Join the Patreon, of course, at gboot2786. That's the Patreon link right there. You can go there and get that. If you'd like to advertise, we have the email at the bottom. Ladies and gentlemen, go to our Facebook page for our book at Commonwealth Cause, as we talk about the new Cosby book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, go to Nawny'sCreoleBlends.com and get your seasoning on. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nawny's goes great with every dish. Also, Video Soul, ladies and gentlemen, that is our latest single on Spotify. We have more songs, of course, and an album I think eventually I'll be dropping probably by the spring, so you don't want to miss that, but you can check out that. And of course, our theme song for the night, as always, is Gotta Get On Up. So we've gotten on down. It is now time to get on up and get on out of here, ladies. Good talking to you all. Great broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in the next one. I'll holla. Peace.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll be. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the. Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to give your body moving, gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll feel the groove. Get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor, baby. Yeah, gotta get on the floor, baby. Come on, baby, gotta get on the floor, baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor.
I just had one more thing I wanted to share, ladies, brothers and sisters. If you are interested, I will be, hold on a second. Don't forget to join me not this week, but on January 20th, I will be at the Bear Garden doing some comedy on Comedy Night on Thursday, January 20th at 8 o'clock p.m. Be there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm headlining, so you don't want to miss that. All right, guys, that's it for me. Let me go on and get my water game on. All right, guys, I'll holla. Peace.